Great. Well, we'd like to welcome everyone to the HomeWell Care Services weekly discovery webinar. And really, it's our privilege to assist you as you do your due diligence. You're trying to determine, is senior care the right space for us? You're trying to determine whether HomeWell is a good fit for us to start your own non-medical in-home care agency. But we also know, as Samantha mentioned, that your time is valuable. So each week we do our very best to focus on relevant content and expert speakers who's going to help you get the best return on the investment of time you spend with us. Now, most of you are aware of the fact that one of the primary reasons small businesses fail is that they start off undercapitalized. Our topic today addresses solutions to that important need, funding your business. In fact, since 2003, Guidant Financial has been helping people finance small businesses and franchising through a full suite of funding solutions. Things like SBA loans and unsecured loans, portfolio loans, equipment leasing, even 401k business financing. You may have heard that before. It's like rolls or rollovers for startup business, ROBS it's called. But today, guess what? We have the pleasure of having account manager Jason Juric with us here. He's going to give us an overview of those funding options that Guidant provides. And afterward, as Samantha mentioned, we're going to allow for some Q&A. So Jason, welcome. The floor is yours, my friend.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Samantha. And thank you all for your time today. And as stated, I'm one of the account managers over here at Guidant Financial. And my hope today is if you haven't already started thinking about different types of paths to funding a new opportunity, maybe today is a good start. And just to give you a little bit of an overview of some of the different ways Guidant and myself might be able to help you when it comes to this part of your journey. Now, as you said, we've been around just over 20 years at this point, and we're really proud. We've been a part of over 25,000 new small business openings here. We've been a part of over $4 billion in total funding for new small business owners, and absolutely have seen over 85,000 new jobs created here. Our goal here at Guidant is simple. Our vision is to increase the number of people who succeed in small business. So through a variety of different options that we'll touch on today, I hope to be able to help you as part of this journey as well. Now, as Jack kind of alluded already, there's a number of different options out there. So SBA loans, those are probably one of the more common routes that a lot of folks have seen in putting together funding. Now, these are going to be your traditional loan options, and where we come into play really to help you is finding that right lender. It often can be seen as a task to try to go navigate the loan options with a local bank one-on-one. Where we come in is we're not limited to that geographic location. In fact, we work with lenders all over the nation. So we can certainly help in navigating and helping out with those SBA loans. One of the most common, in fact, that Jack brought up is that rollover for business startups, or the ROBS program. Some of you may have heard of it, some of you may not, but this is going to be a debt-free financing option through the use of your retirement funds. So different than what you may have seen in the past and taken out loans against things like your retirement. This is a different option for you to invest in your own small business and hopes to help you start off in a good position. And then, of course, we do have some other alternatives. While SBA and the ROBS programs seem to be some of the more common options that we see folks utilize, we have the ability to help with things like unsecured loans, portfolio loans, equipment leasing. Really, what we hope to do is help take a look at your unique situation, your goals and your needs, and help match up which one of these options or which number of options maybe are going to be a good fit for you, and help provide the education, the guidance, the timing that's going to be needed to meet whatever kind of goals that you have in getting your new business started. When it comes to SBA, there's a lot on this. I'll try to keep it as wrapped up as I possibly can. But one of the big call outs that most folks come into is talking about what's required and what's expected from an SBA loan. Most SBA are going to have a max term of up to 10 years. And as I've indicated at the top, right now, from an interest standpoint, we see a lot of loans coming back around 10.75%. Fortunately, we recently saw a reduction in that prime lending rate here. So we were able to see that number come down. And these are going to be variable rates with the SBA. So they will reflect changes within that prime rate up or down throughout the term of the loan. As you can see, capital is one of the main C's of the 5 C's of SBA. Typically, these banks are going to look at your total project. They're going to hope to see that you're able to put up 20 to 30% from an equity injection standpoint. Of course, they're going to look at things like your credit history, your credit background, make sure we're in a good position as a borrower. 680, of course, is going to be the minimum. The higher, the better, like a lot of things are in life. But we can help out when taking a look at credit qualifications and then your capacity. Outside income is something that a lot of the lenders are looking for as a secondary source of income, as well as just having some personal cash reserves. As mentioned, undercapitalization is one of the biggest issues with new business ownership. So we want to make sure we have you in a good position, whether it be through loan, whether it be through ROBs or other means, that you feel sufficiently capitalized and confident in getting your new business started. We'll look at things like character and help put together a business plan, cash flow projections. They're going to look at things just around what kind of relatable experience do you have, whether that be directly with startups or franchises or other aspects of what it takes to own and operate a business today. Collateral is something that can come up in a lot of conversations. Now, the good thing is that you're not required to have a bunch of collateral to get an SBA loan. The reality is that depending on the bank, they may or may not ask for us to have some collateral in place. So ultimately, this is where we can get a good high-level overview from a lending standpoint of, do the banks feel confident in us as borrowers so that we can proceed with getting this loan secured? Now, we have a bit of a process, I would say, when it comes down to making this as smooth and as efficient as possible. I think a lot of times you may find that it looks like there's a big series of things, but Guidant's going to be here to help match you up with a specialist to get you through. So our number one priority when it comes down to this whole SBA loan piece is just finding lenders for you. We work with thousands of lenders across the nation, and we want to make sure that we're matching you up with the right lenders. We're going to move from there as far as just into the overall packaging and presenting this basic information over to the lenders to make sure we have them that are interested in this file. Our goal is ultimately to get you that pre-approval letter. That's where we're going to have some sense that, we have a lender that's interested in moving forward. You're going to have that term sheet. You're going to have a full understanding of what is going to be expected through that lender. And then if you choose so, at that point in time, we'll move into that underwriting phase. That'll take a couple of weeks to get through the finalization of the underwriting. And our goal is to move you quickly to the closing phase there, where you'll finalize your remaining checklists, get everything else that's necessary back over to the bank to wrap things up. And now we're off to the funding phase. So while there's a number of steps, a number of things to be considered in there, over the years, we found that we can find ways to make this more efficient, especially on the SBA loan process. We'd love to have these conversations early on and best be able to guide you and encourage to have those conversations at the right time. And importantly, just matching up your timeline. I think a lot of times it's easy to focus on the right opportunity and the win, but making sure that the funding is going to be in place accordingly is also important. And we'll be here to help with that piece. Now, the rollover for business startups. This program is something that the IRS created, in fact, back in around 1974. And this is an option that you can actually invest up to 100% of your existing retirement assets into a small business. Now, this is not taking a loan, but it's also not a taxable distribution. Now, for those that have not heard of the ROBS program before, really what this is just setting up your new business in a way that you're able to instead invest in private shares of your own company. Whether this be for full funding of a project or in use in combination, this might give you some flexibility either to bring in some additional equity into this business project. Maybe it's to avoid taking out a loan in general. Maybe you've put yourself in a position to where you can fully fund through the use of this program and not be immediately bound to any type of loan repayment obligation. So we've been setting this program up in-house for the entirety of our existence. And whether it be just one or kind of coming up with a multitude of different options to help put your total funding together as a whole, this can certainly be a significant portion of that project for you. I think from the combination standpoint, and the numbers are just an example, so don't get focused on there. But with the SBA requiring that equity piece, I find a lot of folks are either in a position where maybe either we don't have enough cash on hand, or quite frankly, just don't want to put it all into that business. Maybe we want to have some set aside to support ourselves, especially early on. And you can actually use the ROBS program to bring in that retirement funds as cash towards the loan. In this example, we might do something where we do 75% of the funding through the SBA loan, but maybe we bring in that initial equity through the use of ROBS and the retirement. Most of our clients end up using this not only for that initial down payment, but also the ability to bring in some additional funds as working capital or just post-closing liquidity in general. The cool thing is that there's some flexibility in what kind of a combination you can do. And based on your unique situation, we can help you better determine the different ways you might look at one or the other or a combination like this. Outside of the two main ones that we most commonly see, but not to be forgotten by any stretch, are going to be things like unsecured loans. Now, there's a number of reasons why someone might decide to do an unsecured loan versus an SBA, but in general, these are typically going to be good for those 150 or 150,000 and less needs. Similar credit requirements, being that FICO, they would want to see it 690 or better. Typical terms, about 5 to 7 years, but the big difference comes down is going to be in the cash piece. Typically, these close at about 9% of the loan value versus those 20 to 30% requirements that you find with the SBA. With that said, some of the offset there is going to come down to that interest rate. So in comparison to the 10.75 we see today for SBA loans, these would likely range somewhere between 12 and 18%. Big thing though is you can get those funded in as little as 2 weeks. When it comes to the process, it's a much quicker process. There's not much for them to look into. However, the offset would be, and the interest rates there, but depending on your situation, that may or may not make more sense for you. Equipment leasing could be definitely an option. I know if portfolio loans is something that you do have a brokerage account, that might even be an option to bring those funds into this project without having to liquidate any of those stocks or securities that you have. In general, there's, again, a number of different routes that you may go through, and you may be sitting there thinking, I could probably look at a few of these, and that's typically the case, is we have a multiple options to examine and really just weighing the pros and cons about what's going to be best for me given my personal situation, my goals, my timeline, and what I really just hope to get accomplished before I get started in this new business. Now, while funding is the primary thing, our piece of knowledge here is that I don't know that there's too many folks that get into new business ownership to do paperwork. So when it comes to things like doing the 401k rollovers, we do offer services with 401k plan administration. Whether they be of need, of interest, or at any rate, we do have a whole team that can help out with things like payroll, bookkeeping, HR services. If that's of interest during that funding process, we like to set up some time just to show you how we might be able to help you take off some of those paperwork heavy tasks, let you put more time and focus into operating and running your business as you were hoping to do in the beginning. Of course, if you get to the point that business has been going well, we do offer some valuation services when it comes to selling the business. I always add that in just as an FYI, but you know, at the end of the day, I think that it's nice to know that when it comes down to working with Guidant, while we're here to help out, the number one thing we're here to do is help you when it comes down to navigating all these different financing options. helping you to better understand what those look like for you, weigh in those pros and cons as to how this might work versus how other options might work, and really just give you all of the education and the information that you need to make the best decision. Now, my goal is to always have those conversations because everyone's in such a unique situation and have different wants and needs. So, I would look to Ab, if you can see my contact info, feel free. You can always reach out to further talk about how this might work, whether it's one of these that you're interested in or just really wanting to sit down to understand what can I do, what might be possible for me, and how can you help me get there. With that